Coverage you can count on. This is Way 31 News at 10.
Thanks for watching Way 31 News at 10. I'm Rob Sneed. It's been a stormy Sunday night with isolated storms popping up all across North Alabama. Way 31 meteorologist Anae Scales is in the Storm Tracker Weather Center keeping an eye on that radar. And Anae, will those storms continue onto the overnight hours?
We will definitely continue to see some showers.
Thanks so much, Anae. Remember, you can stay on top of the latest weather headlines anytime. Just download our Way 31 weather app. It features our exclusive 31 triple Doppler. With it, you'll be able to get personalized alerts for your area, and you can also scan the QR code right there on your screen. It is free on all Apple and Android devices. A historic day in the race for the White House. President Biden announced he has dropped out, and it's been more than 50 years since an incumbent president has done that. But Biden is now endorsing his vice president, Kamala Harris. However, the process to name a nominee remains murky. ABC's Perry Russum has more on how the Democratic Party plans to move forward.
President Biden. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
President Biden's announcement has party leaders on both sides speaking out tonight. Way 31 reporter Jillian Kay has more on how they're reacting.
Way 31 News.
All right, thanks, Jillian. How does President Biden's decision not to run impact our state's younger voters? Tonight, we spoke with Josh Coleman, ADNC member and National Committee member for the Alabama Young Democrats. He said now is a more important time than ever for young Alabamians to vote.
We have a lot of work to do here, admittedly, in Alabama, but we're doing that. And if we don't go out and vote and make our voices heard, we are just always glossed over. It's always the status quo. So as elections come up, it is important that we show up and vote. It's important that we're counted and that we can see that young people do vote here.
President Biden's announcement has the Young Republican Federation questioning if he has the ability to even finish his term. The group released a statement that reads in part, quote, "I'm glad that the president seems to have finally come to his senses and has recognized that he is wholly unfit to serve another 4 years as commander-in-chief. But we must ask ourselves, if he is unable to be president in 5 months, how can he serve as president now?" End quote. Coming up, we're talking live with a reporter in Washington, D.C. on the latest reaction coming out of the Capitol Hill. Next. Welcome back. Tonight, the country remains in shock after President Joe Biden announced he will not run for re-election. Right now, reporter Brian Abel is live in Washington, D.C. with the latest. And Brian, thank you for joining us tonight. Now, Biden endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris to be the Democrats' nominee, but he can't automatically make her the candidate. So what do Democrats need to do to make it official?
Yeah, hey, Rob, it's not just simple, is it? And there's going to be a pretty strong microscope under this whole process. So Democrats want to make sure that they get it right and under a legal avenue to get there. And it's going to start with a DNC Rules Committee. Now, the rules by the Rules Committee is that they cannot meet until after 48 hours following a nominee dropping out of the race. They were scheduled to meet on Friday already, but we imagine that will be a little bit sooner. Now, just this past Friday, though, they met and set forward a path for a committed roll vote, a virtual roll vote to formalize a nomination of Joe Biden. Now we will see if that August 1st date, that was the earliest that they would be able to do that, if maybe those delegates just vote for Vice President Harris instead of Joe Biden during that virtual roll call. That's if all the delegates fall in line. And Vice President Harris does have to get enough delegates, enough delegate votes to win the nomination at the Democratic Convention.
All right, Brian, Vice President Harris will also need to pick a running mate, of course. So if she is the nominee, what do we need to know about the process?
Yeah, this is where the focus will really go to next. There's been a lot of names that have been floated out there as to who she may pick, but that is also given if she is the nominee, and that's not for certain yet, as we just established. But there are some names like Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, for example, or Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, or Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona. All of those would help a Harris ticket, Harris top of the ticket, in some way, shape, or form with different demographics, different states and areas of the country that she will need to win if she is the nominee. But as of now, those are just names being floated. She hasn't picked anybody, hasn't said who she may choose if she is the nominee just yet. She'll have to do that kind of at the same time frame that former President Trump did for the Republican National Convention that we saw just this past week. So that is what we'll be looking for. We'll see if those names, any of them, pop up. They have all come out at this point to support Vice President Harris.
Brian, has the Biden administration given any indication as to why he dropped out of the race, especially since there's been a lot of speculation about the president's health over the last year or so?
Ever since that CNN debate, there has been. There is no specific idea as to what happened with this. What was the final straw that drove the president to decide this? We may get that information in the coming days and weeks, but we do know that the president was looking at polling, was looking at whether he was able to have a path to victory, whether he could help or hurt Democrats come November. And those are all factors that we are told that the president was looking at. Which one was the ultimate? It's still unknown at this time.
All right, thank you so much, Brian. That was Brian Abel reporting. Reactions are coming into the Way 31 newsroom from Alabama lawmakers. Former Alabama Democratic Senator Doug Jones says that he supports Vice President Harris.
Folks, if we are going to unify.
Meanwhile, several Republican lawmakers voiced their thoughts as well. Senator Tommy Tuberville says that Biden needs to drop out of the race, and dropping out of the race is not enough. He says that he should resign from office now. Reading in part, quote, "If Joe Biden is unfit to run again, he is unfit to hold the nuclear codes. I join my colleagues in demanding that President Biden resign immediately," end quote. Senator Katie Britt shared on X, formerly Twitter, quote, "This administration's border czar is the last person who should be entrusted with our nation's future. Kamala Harris is even more radical on border and immigration policies than Joe Biden," end quote. Representative Robert Adderholt shared a statement on X. He says, quote, "I certainly wish Joe Biden the best, but whether he is the nominee or Kamala Harris, it really makes no difference. This administration has been the worst of my lifetime, and the result in November will reflect that. This is just rearranging chairs on the Titanic," end quote.
Now, your Way 31 Storm Tracker forecast.
So we've had a few showers today, of course, and just throughout the week, which is a much needed cool down from what we've been having over the last couple of weeks. And are we expecting to have any more, or?
Right. Going into next week, it's going to pretty much start the same way that last week finished off. A lot of those showers and storms in the afternoon, and we've seen that on the Sunday.
I was going to say, seeing the mid-80s, it just feels like wintertime when I see that. Where's my snowsuit?
I don't know about winter, maybe late spring, I don't know. Early summer, but just go ahead and enjoy that.
All right, thanks so much, Annette. Drivers headed to the Arsenal tomorrow morning. Well, we've got a traffic alert for you. Find out what gates will be open for your morning drive next. Tonight, Huntsville police search for answers following a shooting. It happened on the 6600 block of Willow Point Drive. Police say when they got to the scene, they found one person with non-life-threatening injuries. First responders treated that person at the scene. Police don't have the shooter in custody at the moment. The shooting is still under investigation. And we have a traffic alert for drivers on Redstone Arsenal. Starting tomorrow morning, Gate 10 will be open at 5:30. It will stay open until 10 in the morning. During that time, Gate 8 will be closed. The goal is to help ease traffic at the gates. All right, Anae. I mean, listen, we've been talking about these showers and, the cooling down of the temperatures.
Right. Yeah, I know a lot of people are probably enjoying that. Definitely if you have a guard heat that we typically get in late July, it's going to be in the 80s. So it's going to feel pretty comfortable for at least for North Alabama standards. Pretty nice for the end of July.
Keep those umbrellas handy, too.
Right.
All right, thank you so much, guys. Way 31 gives you 24/7 coverage you can count on. Don't go anywhere. Way 31 Law Call is next.